Yeah, Oliver Reed, when he used to go on the sets, and sometimes he used to get over the top with too much drink, yeah, and maybe have two, maybe three bottles of wine. And when you're with someone like Nosha Pale, you got to remember that Nosha Pale's sons, I think it's one of these boys, I'm not quite sure, he's one of the boys or two of these boys, are involved with bodyguard work and also doing stunt work as well, like same as Nosha Pale. And Nosha Pale, obviously, so, you get to a certain age and you mellow down and you got Oliver Reed shouting and screaming. But Jimmy Tibbet was telling me that Johnny Bindon, Johnny Bindon was like definitely Oliver Reed's boss, governor. But them two have had so many fights together, not like really more, not so much physical, not so much physical. When I say physical, not gone mad, they're not punching lights out of each other, but they've had fights, yeah? And it wasn't a bad fight, Oliver Reed. He could hold his own, you know what I mean? So could Bindon. But really the governor out of them was Nosha Pale. Nosha Pale was to put them all straight with Jimmy Tibbet. And you had people like Paul Moriarty. Paul Moriarty. I remember Paul Moriarty telling me his story, and he was telling me the story about Brian Cox. Brian Cox, when Brian Cox was starting his acting career, that Oliver Reed thought he was a bit gay. Not thought Brian Cox was a bit gay because at that time Brian Cox wasn't a big actor. He was just a very normal guy, and Oliver Reed sometimes took liberties, touching him up and all this, that and the other. But where he come unstuck is because Jimmy Tibbet was very close with Brian Cox. Jimmy Tibbet put it right on to Oliver Reed, and Oliver Reed just shut up, mate. He was just telling me, Jim, that he just shut up because he knew. Because Jimmy Tibbet is like, got so many people around him, like he had Paul Moriarty, didn't he? He had Gypsy Tom, Terry Coombs, Terry Sharp, all that lot were in the film game. They're all, the other two was quite handy. Was Dave and Johnny Old. Dave and Johnny Old. They weren't. You couldn't muck about with them too much. Them two was an handful. The old brothers. I remember working with Dave years ago in a club. Yeah, but anyway, I used to have really good laughs all that lot. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't. They told me to get into the film game. Yeah, to get the equity and all that, but I didn't do it. You know what I mean? But the amount of times that I met Oliver Reed, the amount of times, well, not met Bindon. Me and Bindon didn't get on. You know what I mean? We didn't get on from the time me and him had a fight outside of Cornwallian. From the time me and him had fights all over the gaff. You know what I mean? We haven't really got on because, but well after me beating him on some of the sets, when he bashed me up in Kingston, when he really done me bad with hammers and fucking bars and all that shit. And, he wanted to kill me, Bindon. I didn't think, I suppose in a way I was a little bit lucky that he never stabbed me up, yeah. But he went out to cause me serious fucking damage, Bindon, to put me in hospital. You know what I mean? On intensive care. It was like a bit over the top. But that was how it was between me and him. Me and him was always fighting. But when I used to go on the sets, because I used to go to Pine Woods and all them studios with all that lot, yeah. But I used to like going with Jimmy Tibbet because with Jimmy knew so many people, whereas Bindon knew a lot of people, but he was flash. Oliver Reed was a nice guy sometimes, but once he had a drink, he was a pain in the butt, mate. He was a pain. Nosha Pale, I think Nosha Pale was the boss of them all, really, barring Jimmy Tibbet, yeah? Jimmy Tibbet was a man of his own man, mate. He, on a film set, no one really told him what to do. He knew what to do, and that was it, yeah? I like Jim, mate. Me and Jim go back a long, long way, me and Jim. But even me and Brian Cox go back a long way, yeah? But Brian Cox Brian Cox now is a famous actor and a producer, director and all that. Uh, I'd love, I'd love to be able to see Brian Cox again and talk to him about the old times with me, Jimmy Tibbet, and him. A nice guy, Brian Cox, mate. Proper nice guy. But as I say, when I'm going back times. But Oliver Reed was a pain in the arse on the sets. He was a pain in the arse on sets when he used to see young women. Young him and Bindon were the same. You know what I mean? They're both the same with birds, young, good-looking guys like Bindon and Oliver Reed. You know what I mean? Anyway, bang bang row, nice one.